people bring the attitude to them too often that because they are liquid and quoted minute by minute, that it's important that you develop an opinion on them minute by minute. Now, that's really foolish when you think about it. And that's something Graham taught me in 1949. I mean, that single thought. Stocks were parts of businesses and not just little things that moved around on charts. Or charts were very popular in those days, and whatever it may be. Imagine for a moment that you decided to invest money now, and you bought a farm. And the farmland around here, let's say you bought 160 acres, and you bought it at X per share, or per acre. And the farmer next to you had 160 identical acres, same contour, same quality of soil quality. So it was identical. And that farmer next door to you was a very peculiar character, because every day that farmer with the identical farm said, "I'll sell you my farm, or I'll buy your farm at a certain price," which he would name. Now, that's a very obliging neighbor. I mean, that's got to be a plus to have a fellow like that with the next farm. You don't get that with farms. You get it with stocks. If you own 100 shares of General Motors, on Monday morning, somebody will buy your 100 shares or sell you another 100 shares at exactly the same price, and that goes on 5 days a week. But just imagine if you had a farmer doing that. When you bought the farm, you looked at what the farm would produce. That was what went through your mind. You were saying to yourself, "I'm paying X dollars per acre. I think I'll get so many bushels of corn or soybeans on average. Some years good, some years bad. Some years the price will be good, some years the price will be bad, etc." But you think about the potential of the farm. And now you get this idiot that buys a farm next to you, and on top of that, he's sort of a manic depressive and drinks, maybe smokes a little pot. So his numbers just go all over the place. Now, the only thing you have to do is to remember that this guy next door is there to serve you and not to instruct you. You bought the farm because you thought the farm was had the potential. You don't really need a quote on it. If you bought in with John D. Rockefeller or Andrew Carnegie, and there were never any quotes. Well, there were quotes later on, but basically, you bought into the business, and that's what you're doing when you buy stocks. But you get this added advantage that you do have this neighbor who you're not obliged to listen to at all, who is going to give you a price every day, and he's going to have his ups and downs, and maybe he'll name a silly price that he'll buy at, in which case you sell if you want to, or maybe he'll name a very low price and you'll buy his farm from him. But you don't have to, and you don't want to put yourself in a position to where you have to. So stocks have this enormous inherent advantage of people yelling out prices all the time to you. And many people turn that into a disadvantage. And of course, many people can profit in one way or another from telling you that they can tell you what this farmer's going to yell out tomorrow or next, your neighboring farmer's going to yell out tomorrow or next week or next month. There's huge money in it. So people tell you that it's important and they know, and that you should pay a lot of attention to their thoughts about what price changes should be, or you tell yourself that there should be this great difference. But the truth is, if you owned the businesses you liked prior to the virus arriving, it changes prices and it changes, but nobody's forcing you to sell. And if you really like the business and you like the management you're in with, and the business hasn't fundamentally changed, and I'll get to that a little when I report on Berkshire, which I will soon, I promise. The stocks have an enormous advantage, and you still can bet on America, but you can't bet unless you're willing and have an outlook to independently decide that you want to own a cross-section of America, because I don't think most people are in a position to pick single stocks. A few maybe, but on balance, I think people are much better off buying a cross-section of America and just forgetting about it. If I'd done that when I got out of college, it's all I had to do to make 100 for one and then collect dividends on top of it, which would increase substantially over time. The American tailwind is marvelous. American business represents, and it's going to have interruptions, and you're not going to foresee the interruptions, and you do not want to get yourself in a position where those interruptions can affect you, either because you're leveraged or because you're psychologically unable to handle looking at a bunch of numbers. If you really had a farm and you had this neighbor, and one day he offered you $2,000 an acre, and the next day he offers you $1,200 an acre, and maybe the day after that he offers you $800 an acre, are you really going to feel that at $2,000 an acre, when you had evaluated what the farm would produce, are you going to let this guy drive you into thinking I better sell because his number keeps coming in lower all the time? It's a very, very, very important matter to bring the right psychological approach to owning common stocks. But I will tell you, if you bet on America and sustain that position for decades, you're going to do better than, in my view, far better than owning Treasury securities, or far better than following people who tell you that what the farmer's going to yell out next. There's huge amounts of money that people pay for advice they really don't need, and for advice where the person giving it can be very well meaning in it and believe their own line. But the truth is that you can't deliver superior results to everybody by just having them trade around a business. If you bought into a business, it's going to deliver what the business produces, and the idea that you can outsmart the person next to you, or that the person advising you can outsmart the person sitting next to you is well, it's really the wrong approach. So find businesses, get a cross section. In my view, for most people, the best thing to do is to own the S&P 500 index fund. People will try and sell you other things because there's more money in it for them if they do. And I'm not saying that that's a conscious act on their part. Most good salespeople believe their own baloney. I mean, that's part of being a good salesperson, and I'm sure I've done plenty of that in my life too. But it's very human. If you keep repeating something often, that's why lawyers have the witnesses keep saying things over and over again. That by the time they get on the witness stand, they'll believe it, whether it was true in the first place or not. But you are dealing with something fundamentally advantageous, in my view, in owning common stocks. I will bet on America the rest of my life.